I have seedage, lots of seedage. You'll remember from my other video I planted out some lettuce, and look at this little lot. Now we've got everything here in the seed box. Everything's in the seed box. You name it, it's there, all ready to go out. I think I've got the whole thing upside down. Anyway, yeah, it looks to be fairly upside down, this lot. Many different seeds, which will go into the greenhouses, and will go into the ground eventually. Well, there's a smattering of them. Too many to mention, really. Field poppies, like wildflowers. Perhaps you'd like to come and have a look at my pantry. I'll just put the lid back on. As you'll know, most caravans seem to have a sort of toilet area, cum shower area, or whatever. But let me take you to my pantry. It may interest some people. You won't see this in a caravan very often. This is created from the shower room. I don't know if you can get it all. There's my waste paper bin. You've got a shelving there. Come up, you've got more shelving. Shelving there. This isn't a caravan, a tiny caravan. This went up today. I didn't create this. My friend Lisa did, my walking companion who comes up. Look at this. So that's remarkable. That little brush there, it's very useful for crumbs. My birds don't go without. It's like a mega store here for wildlife. I've become the Tesco's of the Long Mynd. But anyway, there we have it. A lovely old tin tea caddy. Hope you enjoyed just looking at that. Right, back to the main event. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of A Parson's Progress. I've just had a lovely breakfast. I'm sat on the floor on my veranda, cross-legged. When I get up in the morning, I sit here like this for about an hour and look out over the Welsh marshes. Anyway, after breakfast, I like to smoke. I always smoke the same pipe after breakfast, and I always smoke the same thing in it normally, but I'm continuing with my Samuel Gower Black Cherry. Only thing with this is you can't clench it, not with my teeth. I have to hold it with the muscles of my mouth. And because the muscles of my mouth are particularly well exercised, I have no problems. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about the little homework I gave you yesterday. About there was only one person who got it right. And I think they call C. Cummings or something. I never can quite work out names from emails. Anyway, well done, Mr. Cummings, Mrs. Cummings. You got it right. It is, in fact, I've got it here. I'll show you in a minute once I've got me pipes stoked up. You'll remember on yesterday's video, I produced this contraption. See that? I produced that contraption and asked what it was, and Mr. or Mrs. Cummings got it right. It is in fact what they call a rush nip, either a rush light or a reed light. But I rather like the name Rushnip. That seems to be the most common name. If you hear any creaking, it's the veranda. We've still got quite a bit of wind today, and it sounds like I'm on, I'm on the burning deck. It's like it reminds me, I used to do a lot of sailing around the Irish Sea and in yachts and what have you, and small ones. And you'd sleep to this sort of sound, and you'd hear the wind rattling through the mast, the chains and the wires, and the whiz of the wind through the wires. So I'm rather used to it. Anyway, it's a rush nip, and well done for getting that right. I've wanted one for a long time. They're usually prohibitively expensive, but this was acquired cheaply, and so I'm pleased with it. And the idea, of course, is that there was this candle tax that came in 1709, before my time, and it meant that it was prohibitively expensive to have beeswax candles, which would have gone in that bit there. And so what they did was they would make candles out of rush. Remember Moses in the bulrushes? Well, they would use those. They would dip them in tallow and bacon fat. Mutton fat was considered the best. I think it congealed rather more strongly. And of course the reed would be put in that, you see, and then it would close, and you would have light. And I think the tax affected not only the candle makers, but also the tax was aimed at any homeowners that decided they wanted to make their own candles. They would get taxed too, just your ordinary householders. Which is an interesting observation if you think about it, because we had the candle tax, we had the hearth tax, you had window tax. Sometimes in England you'll see windows bricked in lovely Georgian buildings, so they didn't want to pay the extra tax, you see. So all these people who say that, big government, everything, interfering with our lives, all these bloody people interfering with our lives, you can't do nothing, you can't even make a candlestick without them interfering. Well, it's not a new problem, chaps. It's been going on a long while. Big government are always interfering. And I mean, in those days, not only were they interfering with your candles, but they could knock on the door and dragoon you off to some war or other, in going back into the good old days when everybody lived on the land and had to make a living at home in the little cottage industries. It certainly wasn't the bucolic idyll that everybody seems to think that living in the country provides. And it's about that subject I wanted to talk today. I mentioned it yesterday that I might, and I minded to, because when answering that question about the rush nip, you understand how important light is. I mean, we just take it for granted, you know that. We sit up all ruddy night, don't we, with that blue light or whatever it is. Is it blue light? We get some rays that keep us awake, because we're all electrified now, aren't we? So very few people, apart from power cuts, use candles, and even in power cuts they use now rechargeable batteries. And it really segues into what I want to talk about, self-sufficiency. Well, not self-sufficiency, just living in remote locations like this, is that there is a hierarchy of needs that you have to address. Can you mind if I just get this thing started? I haven't had a smoke today. Getting rather desperate now. This is the cherry flake. Oh. Is it flake? No. Might be ready rubbed. Samuel Gower. That'll do as an ash burn. But anyway, there's a hierarchy of needs, and these have to be met, whether you live in a city or whether you live in a remote area like this. And I find that people who are thinking about moving into the country or remote areas, they have this sort of bucolic dream of throwing seeds to little clucking chickens, and wife smiling happily from the cottage as husband is out there cultivating their land and sowing cornflowers and rewilding, and the bumblebees buzzing about as they have afternoon tea, of scones and what have you. But the thing you need to sort out first is forget all of that. You need to forget all of that nonsense for now. Because it goes to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have to work out, essentially, I don't know the order, do I have shelter? Yeah, got a caravan, got a cabin, got a derelict, got a cottage. Got to sort out shelter, warmth. How are you going to heat it? Do you have LPG? Do you have firewood readily available? How are you going to heat the place? Do I have somewhere to sleep? Sleep is part of the hierarchy of needs. Have you got a bed? Are you relatively protected while you're in bed so that you can nod off rather than sleeping with your shotgun? I mean, these all matter. And in the hierarchy of needs, there's also basic things like food, sanitation. Where are you going to go to the loo? Where are you going to get your water from? Where's that coming from? There is a whole host. There is a hierarchy of needs. There's a hierarchy of needs. That needs to be addressed. Before you start thinking about, wouldn't it be nice to have a couple of pigs, or we could have some Dexter cows down there and we could milk them and have fresh milk every day. These are all very nice and well and good, but they take time. You have to get your basics sorted out before you even begin to start dreaming about all that sort of thing. But of course, there's no reason why you can't think about what you will do eventually once you've sorted out the hierarchy of needs. But even then, they have to be highly practical. And a lot of people think that that way of life is desirable. Well, that's one of the reasons why people left that way of life, because it wasn't that desirable. It's hard work, and moved to the towns. Yes, they were seduced by higher wages, but also, and it still exists today, it was always considered a primitive way of living. I mean, the people in Pakistan absolutely love living in cities. They think there's an expression called village Pakistanis, and they're considered to be a bit thick. And, they're village Pakistanis, backwards. But these are people with their cows and having to go and get their water from the river and all the rest of it. They're considered backwards. You need your iPhones. You need to be, where the city is, where the bright lights are, where the cars and the rush, and that's where it's at. So we're a bit odd in a sense in this country, where many of us want to just go and get away from all of that. And some people say, well, that's all right, Father John, but I mean, how do you start? What do you do? Do you look for land? Do you live on the land? Do you buy a derelict? I've only got 2 bits of advice for anybody thinking about wanting to live in a similar manner to this, and it just requires 2 things. One I mentioned yesterday. The first is deep pockets. There is no cheap way to do this. So, unless you want to camp in a tent and buy 1/3 of an acre and hope that nobody sees you, the only option is to have deep pockets and to get off your sofa. You need both. It's all right having a dream, but no good if you're not capable of getting off your sofa and doing anything about it. Pipe dreams are great, but don't forget, you're getting older and older and older and older and older. For a lot of people, there's a place I looked at the other day up there. It's an ex-monastery for sale, 20 acres, very reasonably priced, but a hell of an east wind, impossible access, really. You've got to think of all the practicalities when you're in a place, and so I think I dismissed that, really. It was just an idea at the time. I thought the acreage would be nice. But you've got to think about all things. But things cost money. You need to not just have a dream. You actually have to get motivated, get off your bum and go out there and start looking and inquiring. And you need, sadly, both. You can't do it really on a limited budget. I know there are people that says, oh, well, you can buy a bit of land and, stick a caravan behind a hedge, and if you've lived there full time for 7 years, they have to let you have planning permission or something. I mean, that's fine if you want that, but can you imagine every time a hiker walks past, you have palpitations of the heart? I mean, you won't be having a very relaxed 7 years, and you still might not get your planning permission. Having said that, I would say I'd rather live in a caravan in my own land without planning permission than where I was living, which was considered a highly desirable address. So that's up to the individual, but you really need both to be going on. So unless you've got deep pockets, unless you're motivated and you can get off that sofa, hang on a minute. We're going now. Forget it, you know, otherwise. I would say go for it though. If you're anybody like me, go for it. Because, you know, I wouldn't swap what I've got here now for all the tea in China. I wouldn't swap what I've got now for Belgravia. I wouldn't swap, you know, I wouldn't swap places with King Charles, or, I mean, I wouldn't live in Buckingham. I'm happy. I am sat cross-legged on my veranda, smoking me pipe. I've got a lovely cup of coffee going there. I've just had a great breakfast, and it was the full English. None of this, you know, vegetarian and woke nonsense. It was the full English. It was the champion of breakfasts. And then you have your coffee, you have your pipe. I'm looking at God's creation, receiving the energies of God. I've got work to do today on the Hermitage, and it's rather marvellous. And I'm surrounded by nice people like yourselves who like to chime in and watch my videos. It's good to see you always, and I love hearing your comments. I get various comments. I've had some good comments about pipe suggestions and how to dry out tobacco and stuff. So it's good to have a little bit of a company while I sit here. I have a whiskey of an evening, which I enjoy. I like Isla whiskey. I don't know, what whiskies do you like? Yeah, I like a whiskey of an evening. And as I say, I go to bed early, get up early. Come out here for an hour's meditation. I'm glad I can still get up after an hour's meditation. You know, as you get older, this is something you have to think about when you're talking about none of us getting older, and I'm certainly not very young to have started this. And you know, it's a young man's game. You'll feel your age sooner than you know it. So if you are thinking of doing it, I'd say get on with it. If you got your deep pockets, you know, and you saw somewhere, get on with it. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting around in your 60s going, oh, I'm going to move to the... You'll get to the land and you won't be able to pick up a sack of grain to feed your pigs. Never mind get pigs. So I'm going to leave it there today, really. I think I've whittled on long enough. I'm going to go and... a friend brought lots of wonderful seeds. You'll have seen them in the intro. So I'm going to plant those out now. And God bless you all. You take care and look after yourselves. See you on the next video.